Nick Wright is now going to join us. I might as well just, it's like, I might as well just grab a poker.
It's not tough decisions.
Right in the ribs.
It's not. The one seed that's the two-time defending champ who you've had number one all year, it's not hard to keep them number one. I'm just curious. You weren't impressed by the Chiefs this weekend in their bye week? Oh, wait, maybe it was the week before because the Chiefs' backups lost to Denver, but you love Denver, and the Bills' backups lost to the Patriots' backups who didn't want to win. Was it the week before that when the Bills beat the Jets, or the week before that when the Bills struggled with the Patriots who are drafting number? What are we doing? Now, here's the thing. It's obviously farcical, and the fact that you said, and I quote, I jotted it down, the Bills have, quote, the most talented quarterback left in the playoffs.
Yes.
I didn't know Patrick Mahomes wasn't invited to the playoffs this year. However, I'm not going to be too hard on you because it's a rough day, I know. How are you doing?
You know, I said this earlier. I'll set you up. I said Sam probably never deserved a Mahomes, Allen, Lamar contract, so he'll get a Baker contract. And one of the things about the NFL, because of the scarcity of games, is every game matters. We've seen coaches that have a job and then lose it. I mean, literally overnight. Yep. I mean, if Sean McDermott would have lost to Denver, we would feel different about Sean McDermott today than we feel about beating Denver.
Absolutely.
And my thing with Darnold was eventually, over the course of a season, that's why I say the Chiefs winning isn't luck, the truth comes out. And Darnold now will get a Baker contract. I think he deserves that. Do you not?
Well, here's the thing. And this is what I love about the NFL and why I get so annoyed with folks who try to make excuses. I'm not talking about this conversation for certain players, and they're like, "Oh, small sample size." It's a small sample size sport.
Yeah,
that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And 12 days ago, no, not 12 days ago, 14 days ago, Colin, 14 days, I sat here with you, and I said, not you, I said that if Darnold plays great that coming Sunday night against Detroit, that he has to get legitimate MVP consideration and show up at least on the bottom of people's ballots. And I stand by that. That was 14 days ago. But because it's a small sample size sport, when the sample is the two biggest games of your season and the two biggest games of your career, you instantly go back to seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
And your team scores 9 points, then all of a sudden, folks are going to say, MVP, forget that, and actually we want J.J. McCarthy as our quarterback, and actually any contending team is not going to be able to sell their fan base that he is the guy to get us over the hump. So I don't think you were crazy 2 weeks ago when you said if he wins that game against Detroit and they're the 1 seed and have the bye, that he's looking at high 40s, low 50s.
Yeah.
I also think now he might be looking at another 1-year prove-it deal. Maybe someone gives him the Baker deal, but I don't know. And so it's one of the beautiful things about professional football. It's also one of the cruel things about professional football. Sam walked into that game against Detroit with the world at his fingertips. If he played great and they won, it's generational wealth and rewriting the story of his career. Instead, he played his worst game of the year until last night, which was even worse. And now for a lot of people, it's same old Sam. And it's a shame, but that's the sport. That's the life they've chosen, so to speak.
So I'm going to get to Ravens-Bills, but I want to save that to the end because I said this. Yeah. When Jerry Jones appeared on Landman, a great show, everybody was surprised how good he was. And I'm like, no, Jerry's great with attention. Jerry's great with a camera on him. And I think there's an argument to be made that Deion Sanders isn't the best coach available. But the Cowboys are boring. And most of my life, they haven't been. And their training camp attendance was the lowest ever. And you watch them play the Niners or Packers or a big brand, and the stadium's 35% full of the other fans. And Deion makes them fascinating. Do you think it'll happen, and do you think it would work?
I don't think it'll happen. I do think it could work if it did happen with your, like, that's only part one of the plan is hire Deion. Part two of the plan, and I'm glad you brought up Landman, is Stephen Jones goes to Taylor Sheridan, the creator of Landman, and is like, hey, I will give you $10 million to cast Jerry in a starring role of season 2, but just tell him he's got to be on set the whole time and you're filming during football season. Just get him out of the building.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, that 2.5 minutes, he was spectacular.
By the way, when James Dolan of the Knicks built the Sphere in Vegas and was out of the building for 2 years, the Knicks front office suddenly got brilliant.
Right. Exactly right. No, this is actually an adjusted take that I've stolen from you, which is if the meddling owner can get distracted with something else, the team can thrive or succeed.
Right.
It's exactly right. And so I think Jerry, they have managed now on consecutive decisions, Colin, I feel, have 2 options, neither of which were great, but both were fine, and they went door number 3, which was a disaster. So with Dak Prescott, option 1 would have been pay him top of market right when the offseason begins and build your team accordingly. Option 2 would have been tell him, no, man, we're not paying you. We're letting your contract play out, and we'll see. They chose the worst of both worlds. Pay him top of market, last minute possible, tie up our cap. They did the exact same thing with Mike McCarthy.
Yep.
With Mike McCarthy, they could have signed him to an extension the day the season ended or before. Or they could have said, Mike, we appreciate you. We're moving on the day the season ended, and interview all these guys that everyone else interviewed. Instead, they said, door number 3, let's not bring him back, but let's do it at the last possible moment so we don't get to interview Ben Johnson. We don't get to interview Spags. We don't get to interview Aaron Glenn when everyone else did. So I think that was a back-to-back ridiculous choices by Jerry Jones where you took the worst of all options. I do think Deion would be excellent. I don't think that the reason I don't think it's going to happen is the Cowboys are the one team that looks like they're hiring a coach. I shouldn't say the one team, but one of the teams where it's least likely he would ever get to coach Shedeur.
Yeah.
Like, because they gave Dak that contract, he is untradeable in the short term and does have a no trade in the long term, and they're drafting 12th. And so, to me, it's just, if Deion would want to do it without needing to coach his son, yeah, I think his personality has enough gravitational pull. It could pull from Jerry's gravitational pull, and that would work. But I don't know that I think it's going to happen.
Okay, I got to ask you, Bills Ravens. So you're somebody that's seen as the arch nemesis in Buffalo and sometimes in Baltimore, and I really like, I think Baltimore is arguably the best run organization top to bottom in football, along with Kansas City. I said this yesterday. I think Buffalo's become Kansas City without the trophies. Owner stays out of the way, smart, really sharp general manager, don't miss on a lot of draft picks, superstar quarterback, always have, Joe Brady and Spags, you're like, these are really, really sharp guys. They just don't have the trophies. And I said, that's why Phil Mickelson didn't win a lot of majors when Tiger was in his prime. Doesn't mean Phil Mickelson can't play. And I think this is the best version of Buffalo. So Vegas clearly says Buffalo won't be able to stop the run game of Baltimore. They're telling you that with a line. Like, Baltimore is going to run over them. I can't go there. We can't forget Lamar's gotten a bit tight in big games because they just dusted off a team in Pittsburgh that can't get offense right. How do you view Bills-Ravens?
All right, well, first of all, the Buffalo is Kansas City without the trophies. And I know I'm about to mention one of your favorite actors, but that's a bit like Michael Keaton's just Tom Hanks without the Oscars. Yeah, but that kind of is what makes one guy who he is and the other guy somewhat like really good, but the trophies are what you are playing for.
First of all,
and I did that intentionally because nobody loves Michael Keaton more than the guy I'm talking to right now.
I swear to God. Keaton.
I know you do. And so You said that I've been a thorn in the Bills fans' side until this year, when I thought everyone wrote them off far too early before the year, picking the Jets or the Dolphins or ridiculousness to win that division. And I've said all year long, I think Buffalo is the second best team in football to Kansas City. I still think that. I think that Buffalo has right now one weakness, and you saw it actually show up in the Rams and Lions game. Obviously, they won one, lost the other. And that weakness is if you have multiple downfield threats in the passing game, I don't trust their back end, which is why, even though I don't think Zay Flowers is a great player, I think he's a good player, I don't think he's a great player, I think the lack of Zay Flowers, if he's not able to go this week, is massive for Baltimore, because that's the one spot I think you can take advantage of the Bills defensively is deep downfield passing. And I also think that is a problem for Baltimore because they don't really want to be in a deep downfield passing game. Lamar Saturday played the first start-to-finish great playoff game of his career, and I give him a ton of credit for it. But yes, of course, I still have reservations about him in the postseason. I also think that one of the reasons the Bills have been underrated this year is because people just don't care that they have the best offensive line in the entire conference, and James Cook's been really good.
Yeah.
So I disagree with Vegas on this. Yeah. I think it's insulting for Buffalo to be home dogs, and Lamar's not Tua, obviously, when it comes to the cold, but Lamar doesn't love the freezing cold, and Buffalo on Sunday is going to be 8 degrees. All those reasons, I like the Bills. And, Colin, I got to tell you, Chiefs are going to, take care of the Texans by halftime Saturday afternoon. And then Ravens-Bills, I hope this thing goes to triple overtime. I hope it's the greatest football game ever played. I hope we tell our grandkids about what an unbelievable slugfest this football game was. I'm so excited.
Like college football, go 13 overtimes and then somebody stumbles into the end zone. Yeah.
Keep going.
As always, buddy, great seeing you. Nick Wright, first things first.
See ya.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.